What's up, guys? Welcome to The Creative Producer. Yes, we are entering the podcast space now. I'm sure everybody's very excited about that. So,
Wow, real original.
gotta do the big intro, you know?
Let me tell. Hold on. Let me tell you something really fast. I was telling a group of people that have nothing to do with the industry that we were starting a podcast, and like the reaction was just so blank and just like, oh, and it's like,
That's usually the reaction I get from everyone. Oh,
That's the reaction you gave me when I said I wanted to start a podcast.
everybody starts a podcast. That's always the reaction, like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's unless like once you start doing it and like people see the content. Before that, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, that'll be fun.
But no, we're super excited to start this. It's a long time coming. I think one of the biggest things we're trying to focus on in this is to share our experiences as freelance filmmakers, and also just kind of go into some of the industry do's, don'ts, experiences being, several years into being a small production company in the area of Atlanta. And there's a lot of stuff that I think people want to talk about with filmmaking and video production in general that they just don't really talk about that we do. And we'd like to share some of our info too. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, and before we dive in, so we can like whoever doesn't know much about us, if we can give a little backstory about where we came from and who we are. I know you like glossed over on the last sentence, but
Yeah, so dreschervisuals is a production company here based in Atlanta, and we've been around since 2016. And our focus has started really in the YouTube space. So we started growing a YouTube channel in 2015. So before the business was actually like fully originated, and we started a channel then. And once I started going full time as a freelance producer, we were able to keep working with that client that was growing the YouTube Muscle and Strength, and we kind of branched into that space for a minute. But over the last couple of years, we've really focused primarily on commercial production. While we're passionate with narrative, documentary, etc., commercial is really kind of where our focus has been, and we've made a lot of really interesting ads that have reached a lot of people, and we've also continued to produce YouTube content, which is really something we do on the regular too. And I think we're a good example of like the hybrid modern filmmaker, because we're kind of doing things with the internet when the internet allowed video to kind of push as the primary source of content. I think we started right around that time, and now it's obviously video is key. And we've kind of watched that evolution go from long form to short form, which sometimes I know drives you nuts, but people's attention spans are quite small. To be fair, when I started, I thought 30 seconds was short, but now it's basically 5 seconds.
that's been the fun thing I've been figuring out recently is just literally we have to have the word count like to like down to like the number, and that's as far as we can go. If not, it'll be past like 30 seconds, past 15 seconds, and then it's a hassle to edit.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool though. Like, we've really broadened our horizon. We're focusing now into that CTV, connected television route, which, I mean, there's new terms all the time, but if you guys aren't familiar with CTV, so connected TV ads are primarily seen on streaming services like Hulu. Now pretty much every service that I'm aware of, maybe not HBO Max, offers ad playing viewing. So if you have a subscription, you can choose to have a lower price subscription model and have ads. Netflix just offered it now. And so a lot of the ads we're making now are being seen on those platforms, and that's like the modern TV ad. So when you say, is it going to be on TV? While ads obviously are seen on national television, the focus right now, a lot of the ads is that connected TV, because people are paying less for cable and they're buying that streaming service.
Yeah, everybody's moving away from traditional media. It's still there. It's just not the main source of content that people use.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a market for cable viewers still, and there's situations where it makes sense. But the cool thing about connected TV is the fact that you can literally connect with it, and the viewer can engage, the consumer can engage with the ad. They can scan a QR code. They can click a link on their phone. It's very integrated, so it creates a lot of opportunity to think outside of the box with how to interact with a customer, and I think that's why we've been interested in it, because it's a different type of platform for us to get our work seen and to give our clients the ROI that we always promise.
Yeah, and usually with CTV, there's already a plan of where it's going to be seen and everything. We've had like projects where we like worked on it, like we put so much work into it, and then when we give it to the client, they're like, "All right, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Let me just post it on Instagram with I have like maybe 1,000 followers."
Yeah, I mean that's a strategy that it's really tough to work with a brand and not have a strategy. I mean, we've learned this from trial and error. So one thing I did want to say too is like if we give critiques or analyze the situation of a video or a campaign that doesn't work, we're not calling anyone out, because these are things that happen to us. And ultimately, whenever we make a product, just like anyone, whenever they sell a product and it's theirs, something that they handmade and custom made, like you want it to work. And we've had projects where we've put a lot of time into something and we've really believed in it. And the strategy behind the delivery of the project ended up making it kind of unseen and tank. And that's really discouraging. And we've had to learn that a big part, and movies have always done this, a big part of making a movie is the marketing after the movie. And if you don't market the movie properly, you're not gonna get the eyes on the film that you worked so many years on. And it's the same with any other type of video. Obviously, there's exceptions where you're gonna get that that viral thing, where it just goes and works, and that's a great feeling. But you can't always get that, and you can't always guarantee that. So a strategy is really important, and we're working on figuring it out.
Yeah, and I mean, basically overall, we'll keep it safe. We'll keep it generalized. But I mean, there's a couple of like projects that we probably gonna dive into later on in the episodes that, that it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't want to get like sued for defamation or anything, but there's definitely projects that
it's mostly to like kind of like learn what we learn from our mistakes, so you can like learn before you make those mistakes, kind of thing.
For sure. And like one thing too that we are going to be talking about, so my primary role with dreschervisuals now, as I focus on creative, I also heavily produce and produce pretty much all the projects in a degree, and with that includes budgeting. And one thing I think a lot of video content creators, videographers, photographers, I think a big thing that people don't talk about is budget. And while we're not going to like go, oh, I signed this deal for this amount of money, we are going to go into projects, break down the budget, and the logic behind it and how much money was really made. And I think with certain projects, it's important to do that, because sometimes we forget, while we are creators and we like making art, we also like living and surviving. And while we're no pros, I mean, we've definitely over the years learned how to generate an income in this industry, and and really to learn what type of money you need to have to do certain things. So that'll be really cool to go into. I'm personally excited about that, because that's something that never gets talked about. So we've been working together. Basically are married.
Or a married couple.
You called me honey yesterday like 3 times. That was a
the first it was a joke, is like he it was kind of like oh honey, because he did.
It's not a joke. How is that a joke?
Well, it's like a thing when you like do something like a little dumb, you go like, oh honey. So that's the phrase. And he was like, God, why is your car so hot? What is going on? And then he's like, oh, the vent was closed. And then he opens it, and I'm like, oh honey. That's kind of where it started.
Okay. Wow. Cool.
I got carried away, and then I did it 2 more times.
The problem with you is like you'll get like one that works, and then you'll like keep going at it, and then it's like just
I'll push it. Please
stop.
He went, there's a line.
Yeah,
there's a line.
You always cross the line. With 5 years comes lots of stories, lots of memories. So okay, so do you want to go into one of your funny stories? Or memories?
The crumb is the one that always pops in my head.
Okay.
We did an ad for like this prototype speaker, and there was we rented apartment space, and we shot in the kitchen, we shot in the living room, like just different scenarios. They were sleeping. The speaker had all these features, and in one shot in the kitchen, there's a close up of the speaker, and then we notice there's like a crumb, like just a crumb next to the product, and it's like, it's not like a smooth, it's like marble, so like it has all these like little specks and everything. So like Dan's like, do you think you can like rotoscope this out, or like just take it out? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I think so. Also, mind you, I was in Puerto Rico, where that's where my family lives, and I was in vacation.
Well, not only that, you were also like, we were still like new working together.
Yeah, we were still figuring out kind of like like all the business side. Like,
nice now if I ask for something removed, because now you're like,
now I'm more comfortable being honest. It's like, yeah. And I'm literally in the car, just like, we just parked to go to Macaroni and Grill with my dad. So I'm like, I have my laptop in my back. So I'm like, hey, I got to do this real quick. So I take the laptop with me and I go to Macaroni and Grill, and we just sit at the table while everybody's ordering. I'm like, all right. And After Effects, just taking everything out. And then obviously it's Macaroni and Grill, so there's shitty Wi-Fi.
Terrible.
So it takes hours to upload, and then when I finally upload it, it looks good. I'm like, I'm proud of it. Great. And then Dan goes back and says, oh, I just cropped it out. I was able to scale it and just cropped it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a few things to go into here. Yeah. One, it's funny now, but like, we should have problem solved better on my end, and should have just scaled it out. Two, I wanted to clarify, the client commented on the crumb.
Oh, sorry, the client.
And the client was very, very particular. When they wanted something done, they wanted it done immediately. And so that was funny. And
yeah, which is funny because I didn't even think about like scaling in and trying to like just crop it out. That was just like, that would have been like 2 seconds.
But that's the thing too. I think when you do projects, the more you do, the more you understand. Like, so while like there's a lot of things that we want to say we can do, because we can, and this is something like, I know especially with you, I've had to like kind of like playing more the producer role in a project where you're leading the creative on visual effects, or you've kind of wrapped into that, and it's your time to really do what you do amazing at. I'll kind of have to reel you in and be like, whoa, like that's how long is that going to take, or how long do you think that's going to take? Because while we want to give our clients the world, we also have to realize, like, is this going to make sense for this project? Does this make sense for this budget? And that's not saying we devalue our projects. That's just saying, like, we have skills and we know when to utilize certain things and when not to. So I think like an example would be like the crumb was an example of, hey, like, we should have thought outside of the box to eliminate the stress of you having to do that. And also I should have communicated with you when I scaled it in. I should have told you that sooner. 'Cause like, I'm a very like, you have way more patience than me. Like, at least 300%.
A little bit. I'm also a bit of a people pleaser, so that's where that also comes in. Like, oh well, yeah, we can do this. We can do like this crazy complicated effect you want, or like this. This will take like a long time to fix or make, but I'll do it.
Yeah, and then as you say that, I'm just like literally going through my head.
You're just
all
like,
the
there's no way we can do this in time, and with the budget, there's no way.
But that's why we work. I mean, that doesn't mean that I don't want to go to take things to the next step.
You just gotta be realistic.
You have to be realistic, but also you need to have a side of you that is slightly a pessimistic person, because there's always something that doesn't go the way you want it to go. There's no like perfect, everything's perfect. Like, we've had so many projects where it's like hell to get to the shoot, like hell. And then the shoot goes intense, brutal, and then we typically get rewarded with post. Post is really easy, and it's a great feeling. But on the contrary, typically if the shoot's like meh or fine and everything's going okay and just moving, and there's not a crazy logistical challenge on the shoot, something in post happens. My point is we have to always prepare for that, because while as you grow, you get better and better, you're going to have unexpected things happen in any type of project. So planning ahead for those things is important. And if we fixate on one thing that puts us back a day on another, timelines are really important, and it's just something you have to look at.
Yeah, and you're usually really good at thinking ahead and like, I left a little bit of wiggle room in the budget for like
Yeah.
anything extra would happen. If maybe props or art, we need a little, we might need extra stuff, or even like just post. Like I know that this will take longer than we think, so like that's always like good to think about.
Yeah,
Staying ahead of that.
and that's just like having that contingency of like, hey, I don't need, like, if I don't want to ever make a budget that's perfect. So that a budget that's perfect with no contingency if all goes to hell category, like if that's not there, like I'm really nervous, and I don't want to feel like that, because first off, something always goes, but also it's like if that doesn't get spent, that's just going to be a better chance for the company to recoup costs. That's going to be a better chance for us to make bonus. I mean, that's what that money goes to. So there's no loss in adding it in. So whenever you quote, you really should kind of come up with a budget. You really should, because it's kind of strange to like just send a number out, not really having an idea of how much something's going to cost. So like, for instance, like if I send a quote out for $10,000 for a project, and the project costs $7,900 to make minimum, like that's not a ton of money. So it's like maybe I should have quoted more. So I think those are the things you just got to look at when someone does ask how much does it cost. That's why like I hate that question, but I'm starting to kind of learn how to answer it. And you should just you really, like, if you sit down and do your numbers and work through how much past work has taken and how much money you really feel like you should make for certain jobs, you really kind of can get an idea of like, I hang out in this range. And while it's hard, if you don't make videos for less than $5,000 and someone only wants to spend $1,500, well, I mean, it sucks, but like, instead of spending the time writing a proposal and pitching it, if you say our videos start at this price, if they're not in that ballpark, then hey, that's fine. Like, you have a budget, and I have a budget of where I work. You have a budget of what you want to spend. That's just how it is. I think a lot of times we do get backed in a corner in that situation, and I've done it too. But I've learned that turning down certain jobs that aren't worth the money for your services, it's not the end of the world, and it allow everyone to kind of focus on things. So now we're going to move into the freelance corner. This is a section of the show that I really think is going to be cool to grow upon. It's really just about experiences that both of us have had in the industry as freelancers, and really like what we've learned from scenarios and how to make it better. So when I started really freelancing, I was like 18. I'm 32 now. So I'm looking at like right around like 14 years. So with that being said, you make a lot of mistakes. You do a lot of things that are right and a lot of things that are wrong, and you pick those up. So today we're going to talk about new clients and gig work. And primarily these jobs are going to be like, these are kind of like 1 to 2, maybe 3 days. They're smaller, short-term gigs. And I have some advice I wanted to share on some things that you should do before accepting the gig. So the first question you need to ask for the gig is, what's the rate? Believe it or not, a lot of people will post jobs and they will ask for a specific crew member, but they won't share the rate. So in that situation, you really want to ask. If they're not going to tell you, you need to ask, what's the rate? And if they're asking for numbers, like it's like a bidding war, that's totally fine. People do that. You need to come in prepared. So know what your day rate is. So if someone's like, hey, I need a camera operator, message me with rates, that's fine. But don't message them asking questions that they're asking you to answer. Come in, have the rate, move on if they don't take the rate. A lot of times people will come at and say, what's the rate? As a strategy to get a lower rate, because typically creatives do lower their value when they're in a pinch or when they're just trying to get work. And that's totally fine. It's any tactical business person's going to try that. In my opinion, a producer should just say, hey, I've got $500 for this cam op gig. I'm providing the gear. It's a 7-hour day. but that's not always the case. They won't give you those terms. So what's the rate is the first question. The second thing you should ask is clarifying the hours and the location. So if they haven't broken that down in the gig, knowing the location is really important. I know a lot of people in LA, in Austin, Texas, in Atlanta. These are areas where the industry is very big right now with production. So there's a lot of people in Atlanta that are guilty of this. They'll say production in Atlanta, or they're based in Atlanta, but then they're like an hour away.
It's barely ever in Atlanta.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so like I don't have any issues with not being in Atlanta, but like if you're saying like in Atlanta and the gig is in Fayetteville, that's a big commute for someone in the city. So really understanding where that gig is, because that commuting time, I mean, that's time you're going to have to spend investing in the day. So if it's a 10-hour day plus an hour commute, you're looking at 12 hours. Okay. So, commuting is something that we all do. It's all part of work, but understanding the scope will kind of make sure you're in a better position of like, is this the right gig for me or not? Because if you're already like, hey, this rate's a little lower than what I normally do, and then they're offering it, and then they're saying, hey, this commute is another hour and a half. It's like, oh man, like this might not be the right gig for me.
Yeah, you got to see the actual worth of the gig versus your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't saying like I'm better. Like we really, as a lot of people do this, and it's not a good thing in my opinion. Like butchering anyone for their rate. Like, yeah, there's people that are just like absurdly unfair, but like, hey man, if this rate's not fair to you, that's fine. But there's different levels and there's different value to production to different people. So while I think it's important to have like a set rate for you, if I'm coming in from a non-union commercial space and I'm offering a rate that's not typically what a union crew member sees, like I'm not going to go ahead and attack that producer for offering the rate. I won't take the gig. And I will understand that like, hey, this isn't the right gig for me, but I don't think we should like ever like butcher people. Like I see that a lot of times when like people in groups that I'm in, they're like, hey, I'm looking for a cam op or I'm looking for a assistant director, and here's the rate, and then it's like 20% less than what like union rates are. I think there's just like, hey, it's just understanding the industries, and also like, it's not the same world. So. While we shouldn't devalue our work, I think we have to understand that we have to adapt our work to the scale of production, and that's really important.
It's all on a case-by-case basis as well, depending on like, where you are financially. You have free time. Like I have free time to kill. Let me make a couple $100 for like this gig, even if it's a little lower. It also depends. It could be like 2 hours, it could be 5 hours. So it's also a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, 100%. Like I mean, I know you and I are both that way, especially when we were first starting out. Like. Hey, I'm like, I got some downtime for the next couple of weeks, so I wouldn't mind taking this gig. Now, a next thing I want to go into, the next step is due diligence. So doing your due diligence on any type of freelance job is important. And that means just taking time to look and see who the company is, who works with the company, and, are they legit? So if they're not legit, it's not that hard to understand, because filmmakers in general it's a fairly tight community, right? So, if I type in like for example, I'm going to go ahead and blast this person because I don't even think it's a real person. I get these emails from this woman named Kate Potter, and from Bark. She pretends to be from Bark. And she sends jobs. They're not real jobs. And she's not a real recruiter. And this has been a known scam on like the freelance filmmaker forums for years. So instead of like immediately responding to the job she sends me an email to, the first time I did it, I Googled her name and I saw a list of the scams. And then I knew this is not a real job. I don't know what the gain is, possibly for getting your W-9, having your social. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be. So, that was an example of like, hey, I did my due diligence. But also just like, looking up the company. Are they legit? Looking up their work, looking up the people potentially that they've worked with. Like, that's sometimes a really quick way to see like, are you a clown? And, you might be a clown. So the next one is understanding the expectations of the job. So if you're going on a shoot and they're hiring you as a camera operator, that's fine. Hey, can you bring your camera? Okay, cool. I'll bring my camera. Do you need sound? Oh, you need sound. Okay. How many, what are you doing? Just like a lav? No. We want to do like 3 stick mics, ENG, run and gun, man on the street, 3 stick mics, and we want everyone laved. Whoa, so you want 6 channels recorded? You might need, that's a little much for me to do and to shoot. I don't know. That's a lot, and that's a lot on me. So knowing that, I think is really important. I just told you about that gig I did the other day, with the, yeah, so I just did a freelance gig. There's a gig I've done twice now. I got it from Craigslist, and it's a moderate rate. Respectfully, it's not the highest rate, but I really like the industry it revolves around, and I had a really good time last year. So I took the job again, and one of the first things I asked him was, hey, what's the situation with the audio? Because the last time I did the gig, they needed multiple channels of audio, and while I can handle that, I have to kind of prepare for that. And I also don't want to be trying to rig mics on site. I want to be ready to go. I'm a big believer in prepping your rig for the shoot and not really doing much on the shoot regarding building. So audio is really kind of a thing that I always like to make sure and understand the scope for. Also just basic things. Is the event indoor, outdoor, or is the shoot indoor, outdoor? If you're shooting on a cinema camera and you don't have NDs, you're going to need to prepare for that. So knowing that is really important. And then the last thing is probably the most important, because, we all want to make money. Payment terms. Emailing someone, having the payment terms clarified on paper or digital is critical. What's the payment terms? It's not that hard of a question to ask, and it shouldn't be a hard question to answer. So we've dealt with clients. Yeah. We've dealt with clients in the past where it's net 30, net 60, net 90. That's fine. If those are your terms, you got to tell us the terms. If you go on a gig and the payment terms are net 90 and you didn't know that, and you send an invoice, yeah, that sucks. And that's fine. It's just hey, understanding the terms, it keeps everyone accountable. I have clients that I haven't clarified payment terms with, and turns out they're net 90. And I'm oh man, I honestly, I know it's I'm going to get paid, but it's 90 days for this, for a $700 day rate. It's just a lot of work, time to wait. So think about that, but yeah, those were my freelance gig tips for today's Freelance Corner.
All right, now we're gonna get into Filmmaker Miscellaneous, where we just talk about anything we want, anything in our mind that regards filmmakers, equipment, just tech, and that space. And I think obviously gonna get into a little bit of AI. We've been dabbling a little bit in AI. I think my stance is that obviously the way that some people use it in creating art, there's that blurry line, because there's been moments where you will literally see the watermark in the new creation. And I think the best way to use AI is as a tool, not as the final product end all. I know some people are going to use it that way. We try to use it to get us started in the pre-pro, or even help us in post a little bit, which is where we've been using it more in the audio section. Because we've been using the Adobe Podcast Beta audio enhancer. We've been using that quite a bit, although it did backfire on us for a bit, so we've been stepping back from it.
Yeah, it's just showing that the human eye does know what's natural and what's not, and that was a really interesting thing, because we basically made the decision that shotgun microphone, cutting from shotgun microphone abruptly from going from a lavalier, it was a very technical, it was a noticeable difference. So we did try the enhancer, but then the viewer didn't see a microphone, and the audio enhancing plugin ended up making the audio sound like it sounds in a studio, very clean, crisp, and ultra clean,
Yeah, and then that software is made specifically for podcasts, so it mainly however it was made is for dialogue. So there could be a moment that we have a sound effect in that track, and or we have like music playing, and it would force it and try to make it do dialogue, just talk dialogue, and it just sounds super weird and like kind of creepy.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye out.
So that's the thing, we can't use it for all of it, obviously.
Even like a hit, like if you like are walking and you like made like a sound, it would listen to that sound and it would try to like make that sound like a voice.
Yeah, it would be like "Meh, meh, meh, meh," and you're just like, what is that?
Yeah. So I mean, it's really tough. So you cannot just like slap it in and go. It's not like an adjustment layer you just throw on your timeline and just fix it. You got to like sift through and find it. Now, on the contrary, we've had like a client reach out to us and send me like a CAF audio file, which is like an iPhone phone recording. And then they're like, "Hey, how do you make this? Can we stitch this this recording together? And then we also like enhance it because it sounds like it's on a phone." I'm like, was it on a phone? Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me see what I can do. And then like, we used it and it worked great. So it's like that was an example of the plugin working, but that was also a situation where, hey, that plugin was designed for this. I think it's just like you said, it's a tool. It's not a replacer. It's a tool, and we have to learn as creators to have tools in our arsenal and know when to use them, know when to avoid them. And there's gonna be people that prevail and get away with things one way or the other by using AI, and that's gonna make a lot of people upset. But I still think there's just like the AI always is gonna need a conductor. To a degree. And I think that for the most part, like when the questions like you were asking me a while ago, like, do you think it's going to like replace our jobs, or are you nervous about it? I think that like, yes, I am nervous about AI in a sense of, hyper reality and what it will do to viewers in regards to how much content they're wanting and expecting to consume. Because I know as a human, I don't want to generate that much content. I don't want to regurgitate so many things like that. That's just not fun to make that. I mean, we've already, like as a company, avoided and work away from being a volume-based production company. And AI, like with the way they're doing movies and whatnot, it's like it's creating a way to give content to viewers much faster. So that's my only thing I don't like, because I don't like volume.
Yeah, that's fair. And like, I mean, I've seen like this. I don't know. I didn't look into much, but this AI software that like will make cuts in the Premiere timeline for you. Like you just press a button and just goes through it. And I mean, that could be great as like the first draft, but I'm still like kind of like, I don't know. I want to do it myself. I don't want to lean on it too much. But it's still in early stages. I just don't think for the creative side, the art of it should be like used as much as people like tend to use it. Like it should be, at least for me, it should be like something to like get me started at the blank canvas and then add to it, or like make something that was inspired by it, rather than like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna make. I did it in AI.
Yeah. And I think there's just like, there's always going to be like, by any means is this belittling this profession, but like there's been industries that have like kind of had a dramatic shift. Like one I would say is like travel agencies, right? So like when the internet allowed viewers to search, browse, research, to book, and to have this abundance of companies trying to give them quotes for pricing, etc. The travel agent became less and less of a desirable need in regarding to planning a trip. Well, hey, there's still travel agents that are working and doing great, because not everyone wants to do that. Just like not everyone wants to go through the AI process, or not everyone's super tech savvy and they want to just hire the contractor that they've worked with for years that can produce the quality product they want. So, you have to look at things like that. So if anyone comes to you and is like, oh, I bet you're nervous about AI, like, screw you, dude. Like, first off, that's a shitty thing to say, but also it's like, you got to think outside of the box and you got to evolve with tech. I will say that like, it is pretty wild what it can do, but I know we talked about the first photos that really caught my attention about with AI in connection with humans. It was those party photos of the younger, like they're like the Gen Z teens and this like grungy like it was like this, like it had this like very interesting color, like filmic
Yeah, it
color
looked like it was
tones
taking
to
like a
it.
little film disposable camera, and
Yes.
it looks, at first glance it looks so real. You're like, oh yeah, these are just people having a party, and then like, no, wait a second, it looks a bit off, and then it was all AI generated.
Yeah, they were like very unique. They look like LA model scene people because they were like all like very like model-esque the way they look, very thin, very like lean, and just they just looked very like editorial. So it was like, is this like a staged like Versace ad or something? And then you started to like look in things and you zoom in like, wow, why is that woman's fingers like, why do they look like hot dogs? Or like the teeth are another thing. There's another thing. Okay. This is interesting. So, first off, we work on visuals that move. So our content is 2398, 24, 30, 60 FPS. So there's multiple frames per second to show the visuals. Now, photography is a different space because that's a single image. There's a lot more you can do to focus on a single image that's not moving. So there's a feature where you can pay $25 and you can upload your headshot or upload iPhone photos or mobile photos to get professional headshots that are AI created. And they will essentially generate you, I think it's like 100 photos. And they essentially they take multiple angles of like you smiling, laughing, or whatever, wearing different clothes, and then they put you in headshot environments. And it's interesting. So my mother-in-law, my wife hired the company to do it for her mother-in-law's photos, and I would say honestly, like 10 out of the 70 she got weren't like unusable. Like they were solid photos. They looked a little airbrushed, like like I'm gonna say that, but like I go on Facebook because I like certain generational people focus on certain platforms. Facebook is a big platform for certain people, and the people that were commenting on the headshots were like just rolling on how amazing they were, and they weren't commenting on the airbrush at all. I'm like, this looks incredibly fake, but people don't see like that. So that was kind of crazy because like I remember like when I first bought my first headshot, like for professional purposes, like it was an investment and it was a lot, and like that was like damn, that's good enough to work.
That's wild. So it's a company that makes AI headshots.
Well, so the company made the software and then you pay for them to generate you a, so you upload photos, and then they email you back like an hour or two later with like all the headshots.
Interesting. So it's similar like with that trend when once AI got like more consumer friendly, like everybody started posting on their Instagrams headshots, like different medieval and all that stuff. And I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, so you saw the post but didn't know the context.
Yeah, like I seen like a bunch of people like it was when it like became big. I don't know if it was the same
Yeah, it
soft.
was trending. No, we found it on TikTok.
Like so many people that I follow just like started posting all these like paintings of them. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, so I'm not a big I don't use TikTok like recreationally, but my wife is like all about TikTok. So I watch TikTok, but I don't engage in TikToks. Like my wife is essentially like scrolling, and then she'll save things, and then she'll like have like a 20 to show me at the end of the night.
Oh yeah,
like,
he's the guy that like sends me reels on on Instagram.
you know what, I do that, and you know what, it's funny because like sometimes you don't even respond. I send you funny
Well,
shit,
I thought
dude.
it's this friendship that I have with like my other friend is, you send a meme and then you look at it like cool and laugh at it and then you move on. Like I don't have to respond to every meme. I try to respond to like 80%. I'm like,
I send you
yeah, that was a good meme.
I
Okay,
feel like
cool.
I feel like I send you really good stuff though. Like,
I just sent you really good memes.
like the one I sent you the other day, you responded to.
Yeah, I try, and sometimes I feel like I don't need to respond. Like it was funny. Yeah, it was great.
Wow. You know what? Whatever you are, like a Gen Z hybrid kid, like it's just a generational thing.
Listen,
As
I'm a millennial just like you.
I can appreciate a little emoji response, but like at least, but just to see.
Okay,
the
I'll
message.
respond with emojis at least if I have nothing. If I don't have anything on top of my head.
You know what annoys me though, honestly, like, and this is like these are personal problems. I'm aware, like, I know these are personal problems. Like, I'll respond to someone's story, and like, and these are typically like younger people, like, and I know, like, I know in my head, I know this isn't a problem. Like, I'll say, "Wow, awesome." And they'll just see, it says scene.
They don't even like it.
And I'm like, dude, I'm your cousin, bro. Like, I'm like,
Your name's
I'm your cousin, bro. Like, you're not even gonna respond.
I wonder which one of the cousins.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just me being like old and analyzing social and
Start responding with emojis.
it is funny though. You know how the iPhone can let you like see messages or edit messages and then you can unsend them? Well, the thing is like you can unsend from the mobile device, but a lot of people like I have a lot of clients that text me through their computer because it's iMessage on their Macs and
It doesn't work there?
no. So if you unsend on mobile, if it does work, it doesn't always work. I don't know the legality or the logistics behind it, but yes. So I've had clients like send me things and then unsend them, and then like I'm talking to them on iMessage on the mobile, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, what? So there's a lot of things that like the unsending has that's a new feature. I use it a lot.
Yeah, I use it a lot.
I don't unsend things. I edit things. Like I love it to not like a typo. But yeah, that was a new thing I learned is like, oh, like I still see it. And they're like, oh,
Yeah, you would think Apple would think of that. Like, I mean, I'm sure people message through iMessage on the Mac, so we should probably also add the feature there.
It tells you when you send it that can't guarantee it was unsent everywhere.
I know there's a limit, like 15 minutes. Like you have 15 minutes to do it. And
Oh, is there a limit?
yeah, it's 15
Okay.
minutes. They said, and then that's how long you have to like take it out.
Yeah, I've definitely used it a few times. I've made mistakes where I'm like, because like unlike you, because you take forever to send any messages, which is like so annoying.
I've tried.
Dude, you are so annoying with texting and typing. Like I swear.
I look at the message. I'm also like in the middle of something. No, I look at the message. I'm like, okay, cool. I need to think for a second what I'm gonna say. Let me respond later, and I forget. I completely forget.
This is what he does. Like we use Slack, which thank you Slack for years and years of good support, because Slack is really great for team connection. In my opinion, it's a great chat service. It's easy to use, easily integrated, and we can use it with Frame. I like Slack.
Man, free sponsorship right there.
No, I mean, it is. Well, Slack is free for us, so it is. Thank you. Okay, so my point is, I see this guy typing. I'm like, hey, what, blah, blah, blah. You'll type, and then I'm like, are you deleting the typing? And then then it like pauses. So I'm like, okay, so I'm like, how are we doing on this? And then I'm like, I see a little typing, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna get an answer. So I wait, and then I don't, and then then it goes away, and I'm like, okay. Then I'll do something else, come back. Then I see you typing again, and I'm like, oh, okay, he'll answer.
That's the thing though. That's the patient thing. He's not patient. And then the way you message is word by word message. Hey, I enter. I thought it's just like 5 messages just trying to make one sentence. So it's very different the way you message.
That's how my brain works.
It's very annoying. Because at times I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wait until he's done because it just keeps going.
Okay, I will. Sometimes lately I'll send messages and it goes from the sentences slowly reduce and then it's one word. I'm like, damn it, I should have probably tried to condense that a little bit. But
I'm weird about texting. I even read out loud what I'm about to send just to make sure it sounds good. It's not like I'm being an ass.
Yeah. With that being said, it concludes the first episode of The Creative Producer. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Make sure you subscribe and follow along this journey. We're going to be trying to release at least 1 episode a month, I think. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a cool experience. Let us know what you'd like to hear more of. Let us know what you think we should stop talking about. And we'll see you on the next
messaging.
Yeah, messaging.
We'll see you on the next one.